It was for fun, right? I mean, never in the back of my mind was I thinking about $1 million or competing at Globe Life or anything like that. It was just to go prove to myself to see if I could still do it. Then the day of, we show up at Globe Life, and I've been to 1,000 rodeos, but that one felt like it was the first one I'd ever been to of that magnitude.
The Converse Cowboy journey has given me an opportunity to sit down with some amazing performers from all walks of life, where it is my job to tease out their habits and routines so that you can apply and test in your own life. I've learned, I've grown personally, I've been enlightened, and I've been humbled. Above all, I've realized there is no destination in this life, no goal achieved, or money made that can replace the feeling of flow and the pursuit of doing what you truly love to do. With a growth mindset, I'm constantly asking questions and pursuing knowledge. The Converse Cowboy is a platform that allows me to do just that. I'm excited and eager to share their stories with you all. I'm Mike Roberts, and this is the Converse Cowboy.
This episode is brought to you by Kimes Ranch and Carrie Kelly Bits and Spurs.
Man, you've been on the list for a very long time, and you have your own podcast, and I'm sure you have a list of people that you want to have on, and I started this back in 2019 or 20, and Luke Branquinho was on that list. And I don't really follow rodeo, but you're one of those names that, like, you can't help but know the cream of the crop or the elites at whatever it is that they do, you know. So 5-time world champion, 14-time NFR qualifier. And if I get any of these facts wrong, please correct me.
Absolutely.
Because Google can lie. But
I have learned that doing my show, that you Google something and you're like, I don't know if I want to trust that. You have to double check it. That's for sure.
And ChatGPT, I think, is right there with it. I don't know that it's any more accurate. Yeah, Rookie of the Year at the age of 19, man, it's just quite phenomenal. And doing the homework on this was fun. But I'd like to start here. I'd like to know, like, if there's freestyle career for you, or like if there's an album coming out. Maybe I saw the video in the car with Jackie Crawford. It seems like you're just good at everything you do. So
that was everybody's seen that video, I think. You know,
if they haven't, please go check that out. I want to know, like, can you set the scene? Like, what happened before that we didn't see?
So this was the first time that we all actually went up as a group, as the crew. You know, it was Katie Kaufman, our play-by-play, who is absolutely phenomenal, and I hope she doesn't hear this and see this and get her big head on it.
So she is. That's why you see her across the board, rodeo,
everywhere.
Performance horse. She's emceeing and does a fantastic job.
She's phenomenal. I love working with her. I had Haley Kinzel, and then, you know, we've seen Jackie Crawford in the front seat, and we pick, so I get a rental car. I pick up Jackie first, and then we get Haley, and then we're on our way to Fort Worth to pick up Katie. And the whole time we're kind of texting back and forth, and Katie's just going on about her late night and how she's so tired and blah, 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 via text, you know, and obviously we're really having fun with this. And the whole time Jackie's watching Tulsa for the American. She's watching Tulsa on her iPad, which I don't recommend putting it in, you know, where everybody sticks it to watch it while you drive, but we were doing that anyway. So we're sitting there watching, and we pick up Katie, and there's just, you know, back and forth bickering. You know, Katie, we're like a bunch of kids. I mean, honestly, we're like a family of kids. I'm the boy and they're the girls, and we just pick on each other. Yeah. And we get to driving, and I'm thinking, man, how cool would this be if we had GoPros just everywhere to kind of record this? Yeah. As we're watching on the iPad this breakaway roping. And I look at Jackie, I said, man, we're so dumb. I said, that has a camera on it. Just turn that off and start recording. So that's kind of how it all come about. We started recording. We recorded half the way up there, and then the whole way back, and that's where we got the clip. We'd left that morning early, and Katie was just whining and moaning like she does. And so we got to the deal where we each picked a song. We started singing it. And when that came on, it's like a light bulb went off in my head. I said, I could really ad-lib some stuff about Katie on this. So anyway, that's kind of how it started and where we're at. We have so many 30-second, 1-minute clips that would just blow up the internet, I think.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask, did anything else make the cut from that car ride?
Oh, absolutely. There was a lot. In fact, we were in the process of having my producer for my show take the clips and start kind of cutting them up. There was one where I pulled in right, and if you folks know this, I'm sorry, but when you cross from Oklahoma into Texas, there's like a adult shop there across the Red River, and they were kind of half asleep, and I pull in there. I said, hey, Katie, we're here. She's like, oh no, we don't. Do not pull into here. Do not. And anyway, we have a really good clip with that. There's so many great clips.
Beautiful.
Yeah. A lot of fun. A lot of fun with those
Yeah,
girls.
I bet that is, man, you got to have fun. And that's a quote that I saw, and I guess that's a good segue into something. I saw a Yeti Presents, which is badass. If you nominated, I guess, to be a part of like a Yeti Presents, I think that then you've made it. But I saw quite a few quotes on there, and one says, Luke is really fun, easygoing jokester, and then he backs in the box, and it's a whole different person. And I'll read one more. It says, this is your quote. You say, we're here to have fun and enjoy life, and if it gets too serious, you've lost your way in the rodeo business. I think it's so important, man, because you go down this road, this is your profession, you're doing this thing, and it's easy to get lost pursuing the goals and the thing and the ambitions and the things. How do you maintain that? Like, how you seem to, like, you just kind of stay cool in high pressure situations. Where does that come from?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, I'm the youngest of three boys, so my two older brothers were very competitive. I, grew up watching them be very successful in team roping and all events rodeo. For me, it was, honestly really didn't want a rodeo. If I wanted to rodeo, I could go do it. I wanted to hunt. I wanted to play baseball. I wanted to enjoy everything I was doing. I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself at a young age. And then once it started to become more of a reality that, hey, rodeo is the path that I'm choosing, I still wanted to make sure I was having fun doing it. And, that's something I've always tried to preach to anybody, any clinics I do, to my kids. I said, if you're not enjoying doing it, even when stuff goes bad, you have to find the good, the positive, why you're doing it, why you're enjoying it. And I think that's a struggle for a lot of competitors. But I think for me as a young age, I wanted to enjoy what I was doing. Even when it went bad, I picked the good things out and built off that. And really that carried into my professional rodeo career, life after rodeo, doing the show, business ventures I'm in right now. You have to have a passion and enjoy what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned whenever you knew that rodeo was your path. I'm curious to know, because that's the message I get a lot is, how do I know what my purpose is? How do I know what to pursue? How did you know? Like, what was it that gave you the light that said, yeah, that's my path?
Well, I think it finds you, honestly. I filled my permit actually roping calves, not steer wrestling. And my rookie year, which obviously after my permit year, I'd filled my permit, I bought my card. I was considering going down the road roping calves. And what steered me into steer wrestling, I got in with a couple great guys that we just started practicing. I've always enjoyed, I love steer wrestling. I wasn't winning as much in it as I was the tie down roping. So I thought, well, maybe I'm going to go try my hand in the tie down roping. Thank God I didn't. Because there's so much work that goes in that, especially just keeping your ropes right, not much less your horse.
Dude, there's so much
ropes
shit going on.
Yeah, exactly. Steer wrestling, at one point, I didn't even have a knee brace, so I didn't even need to worry about it. Just go get on a horse and throw one down. We had a great steer wrestling horse, and I got in with a bunch of good guys and just started winning. And I think it really found me.
Right. It's so interesting. Yeah, you can see it clearly, like looking back, but like in that moment, it may seem confusing. I'm thinking about my own stuff, but
right? No, it really did. And why in the back of my head I thought I needed to be a tie down roper? One, because I was winning more at it, so I was trying to follow the success, not the joy.
Well, that's what I was about to ask. Like, if you're having more success at that, to choose the thing that's actually harder, what was it that drove you to do that?
I did, and again, I think preparation. I didn't prepare much for the calf roping. I just had a lot of luck. Back then, the calves were bigger, so I was a bigger guy. I was able to tie them in 9s and 10s and still win. Where they might tie a couple in 8, they'd win first, second. I might win 3rd or 4th on those bigger calves. Now, I would still win 4th or 5th on the smaller calves because I just didn't have the talent like those guys. Mm-hmm. But I was consistently winning because the stock was bigger back then. In the steer wrestling, it was more even. The cattle were all bigger. And I was winning, but not like I was in the tie-down roping. So I think just the preparation I wanted to put into steer wrestling was more than what I wanted to do with tie-down roping. And honestly, since the college finals is going on right now, it brings me to a story. I made the short round in the tie-down rope and calf roping back then at the college finals. I think that was 2000, 2001. And grass ropes, everybody uses grass ropes, and I hated them because you had to treat them right. You had to take care of them. If they got too hot, they get too limber. If they got too cold, they get too stiff. Well, I left my can outside in the trailer, and it got cold that night. So I get to the short round that evening, and my rope is like a cable. I mean, literally, like I couldn't shake a loop out of it. there was a pizza warmer there for Pizza Hut had, the concession stand. So I talked him into sticking my rope in the pizza warmer. And that's how I limbered up my rope. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of work just to rope a calf.
Yeah.
Where steer wrestling, you just get on the horse and throw them down. So I think I steered more towards steer wrestling was a little bit easier, less maintenance and less ropes, less strings, and all that stuff.
How'd you do at the college finals after you got it out of the pizza oven?
What did I do? I think I missed in the short round. Yeah, I did. I missed. Maybe I did. I don't know what I did. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was calf roping, so I didn't really care.
Was there ever like a dream of doing like the all around?
Yeah, so not really, no. I knew I didn't rope good enough to compete against those guys, especially once I got out on the road and started steer wrestling. I'm like, these guys are legit. They're for real. No, it was just mainly steer wrestling. I mean, I've won a few all-arounds. I think the circuit all-around in California for the year end and just some rodeo all-arounds, but that's just because I had a lot of success in the steer wrestling and maybe scratched a little in the other events.
Let's fast forward to, I don't know, maybe like 30 days ago, here in 2025 at the American Rodeo, you break back out. Describe the feeling like leading up to it, because I feel like the journey or the process of getting to the event is just as exciting as the event itself. But like, can you talk about that, the feeling of knowing you're about to go compete at one of the highest levels again? After how many years off? 3, 4 years off?
Yeah, 3 years. Well, went to Vegas for the West Regionals, and it was just one of those deals. I'm as in good a shape as I've ever been, feeling great. I'm gonna go give it a shot. It was for fun, right? I mean, never in the back of my mind was I thinking about $1 million or competing at Globe Life or anything like that. It was just to go see if I could still prove to myself to see if I could still do it. Well, we go ahead and pull that out, and we were able to, I think I won second. Justin Schaefer beat me there in Vegas. And after that, I'm like, well, cool, I made the American. Well, there was such a span in between the American, or for the West Regionals, which was second week of January to April. I didn't jump a steer for another 2.5 months after. It was just one of those things, like my body was sore. I'd actually tore my pec a little bit leading up to Vegas. And so it wasn't really in my mind of competing at the American. Even when I'd go do the Central Regional Finals, do TV with those girls and then do the East Coast Regional Finals, it never was in the back of my head that, hey, here in a couple weeks or a month or so, I'm going to be competing in Globe Life at the American. Now, about 3 weeks before that, that's when it hit. Like, I'm like, oh, shit. And I was still working out. I was still going and hazing for those guys. We were still preparing, but not to the level of what I should have been for my own personal self. But, yeah, leading up to it was crazy, man. Just every morning waking up, okay, what are we going to do? Go work out? We're going to go bulldog? I might have jumped a couple steers and took a few days off, then jumped a couple steers, take a few days off, and just kind of not hammer my body and make it sore and tired. Then the day of, we show up at Globe Life, and I've been to 1,000 rodeos, but that one felt like it was the first one I'd ever been to of that magnitude.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
In what way? Like the nerves?
Just the nerves, the energy,
excitement?
The adrenaline, the excitement. We got there early. I got the kids and Lindsay in the car, and we got there a little early, got checked in the hotel, went over, checked in, did everything. And then it was like, okay, now what do we do? So I show up to the arena early. My whole career, I would get there early to prepare, see the draw, check out the steers, look at the ground. I mean, stuff like that. I forgot that there's so much time in between. I bet I walked 10 miles in that stadium floor before they even cracked the first buck and shoot.
Really?
Just back and forth, back and forth.
What's the mental prep that you're going through that you did whenever you were going at it full time, and then even this time, was it any different? Like any visualizations?
Oh yeah. So I actually had to block a lot of stuff out this time. The beginning of my career, I would see what I had drawn, ask somebody about him, and go on. That would be it. The later I got in my career, I would almost overanalyze things, and I sat down with Paige Champion, Richie Champion's wife, towards the end of my career, because I was struggling mentally. How did I get from the success I was having to now I'm really blocking myself from that success with my thought process? And it's very crazy that a guy has that much success, and then the later you get in your career, you really hinder yourself because you're overthinking things. So I was implementing a lot of that stuff that Paige and I had worked on at the end of my career.
You're like a sports psychologist.
Yep. Olympic medal or Olympic athlete.
Oh, right.
And married Richie Champion, bareback rider, who was the first. I'm gonna give you props, Richie, the first $1 million cowboy at the American. But she is so smart and so sharp as far as how helping athletes get back to where they were to be successful and clear all that stuff out of your mind. So yeah, I used a lot of that visualization just 1 time, 2 times, and didn't set any expectations, just goals. This is what I want to do and see how it plays out.
Man, that's so cool. And you see that like any NFL team or baseball, Major League Baseball team, basketball, they all have a sports psychologist, mental skills coach, whatever you call it. But it's so important.
Absolutely, especially at this level.
Yeah, when you're competing against the best of the best. I had a buddy that he got drafted with the Red Sox, and they go through spring training, and it's not just like a physical thing. He showed me this binder from the mentals. I can't remember the guy's name. I know Bob Tewksbury was a integral part of that. He played with the Yankees for a while, but anyway, I was just blown away because I was always kind of drawn to like the mental side of performance and whatever kind of performing you're doing. It just fascinates me, those folks that you remember their name, the greats.
Yeah.
There's something a little bit different, and I think the mental side has a lot to do with that.
Well, and I think you can go to both degrees. I mean, you can go somebody that has a lot of success that, in I guess in layman terms, they're dumb. They don't even think about it. They just go compete. They just go do it. They don't let anything bother them. And I don't mean dumb. I just mean
almost like ignorant. I know what you mean. Like, especially in the beginning.
Yeah,
when
100%.
you start anything, you just go do the thing. You have no expectation.
Yep, 100%.
Usually you do pretty dang good.
Exactly, because you don't know how to put pressure on yourself. So you just go compete. If it doesn't go good, you go compete again, and then that success starts building, then that confidence starts building, and then you have athletes, which I've seen it in all sports, that are phenomenal athletes that should be to this level, but they put too much thought into it. They break it down too much. They analyze it too much. And that's what I was doing at the end of my career. I was breaking it down. I was analyzing it too much. And I think just trying to find that happy medium, because you don't want to be so ignorant, but you don't want to be so smart. You just want to find that happy medium.
Yeah, find the balance.
Yeah.
Describe the feeling. I'm going to ask you 3 different questions, but describe the feeling of the first world championship you won.
Oh, so long ago, but
what year would that have been?
That was 2004. Yeah, it was. I had a great year. I mean, honestly, a lot of success. Went into the NFR #1 in the world, and just had an absolutely great year. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I had it won before or after the 9th round was over. So just going and throwing my 10th steer down was just icing on top.
How old were you?
24.
24.
Yeah.
And so my second question is about the second time, because we just talked about the expectations of once you set that bar that high, like how do you top it? So like how to describe the feeling of the second one, and what was the time frame between the two?
Yeah, so 2004 was the first, 2008 was the second. I struggled in 2005, and then I ended up ultimately getting hurt and had to have surgery, so I sat out 2005. But that winter, and this is what I try to tell everybody, I said, it doesn't matter how many gold buckles you won. After you get your last one, you start at the bottom just like everybody else to try to go get that next one. And it doesn't matter how many you got, it doesn't matter your name. There's always somebody there that's trying to knock you off the top. So you got to start right back with everybody else. 2005, I was like, hell, I won a gold buckle. It's going to be easy. I don't know that I won my first check till maybe March. So I mean, it was a struggle. And then getting hurt, we were practicing, getting ready for Reno, tore my pec, tried to go and compete a little bit over the 4th and couldn't. It really made me realize, like, hey, it doesn't matter how much you've won, what you've won, when you've won it. You start every steer you run, it's like his first one, and everybody's trying to knock you off the top. And I've always been the mindset, I don't worry about what anybody else is trying to do. I got to focus on my job. But don't ever expect just because you won something that it's going to come easy.
And my last question is the very last one that you won. What did that feel like? Did you know that was the last? Like, did you already have in your mind you were retiring?
No, not at all. 2014, that was another great year. I was having an awesome year going into the summer. I think I was winning the world. Salinas came back with a steer that stopped. I got hurt. I tore my lat on my right side. And it was one of those deals. I knew with what I had won, I had the national finals made. So now it was like, how do I have surgery, rehab, and be back and ready for the NFR? I went to 6 different doctors. One of them was the arm surgeon for the Dodgers, Dr. Freeman, who put me in touch with the guy that ended up doing the surgeries. 2 other doctors that said, hey man, we'll have you back in 6 to 8 months. Most of them were 8 months. I'm like, well, I got 4.5 to be ready for the NFR. So you're not going to work. You're not going to work. And Tandy said, hey, go see this doctor down in Tulane in New Orleans. Sent him all my stuff and got on the phone with him. He said, man, I'll have you back in 4 months. So Lindsay and I got on an airplane, and within, I think that was July, it might have been her birthday that I had surgery, the day before, day after. So end of July. Her birthday is July 20th, in case anybody's want to know. I'll never forget that. Yeah, so I had end of July, so we had August, September, October, November, and the NFR started the first part of December. So
what's going through your mind during that whole rehab time?
Probably, I'm in probably the best physical shape I'm in now. I was in the best bulldogging shape in that time frame because 3 days after surgery, I was on an elliptical 2 times a day for an hour. I was doing leg exercises with the arm that I didn't have surgery on. So I was physically ready when it was time to jump a couple steers. Mentally, I was ready because all I did is lay in bed right before I went to bed, and we had these handy little iPhones now, and I would watch bulldogging videos, not of anybody else, but of myself, of making good runs at the national finals. And I would fall asleep watching those runs. So when I did jump my first steer, yeah, it's in the back of your mind. What, is it going to hold? Is it going to break loose? Is this going to be it? Mm-hmm. And I think I jumped 5 or 10 steers. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. Leading up to the national finals, like the week before we left, everything felt good. But we get to the rodeo. I think I went second in the first round. Come back with a steer in the 4th round that stopped right in front of the chute with Trevor Knowles. In the back of your mind, you had surgery because a steer stopped that tore your lat to begin with. So now, what the hell? This steer didn't go much. He stopped. I was riding Rusty, Dakota Eldridge's horse, and Sean Mulligan was hazing for me. And Sean's like, man, I got you. No worries. So I get a good start. Sean gets in behind the steer. He goes a couple strides. He doesn't really stop. Lets off. I think I went 2nd or 3rd in the go-round on that steer. From that point on, and that was in the 4th go-round, I knew this is legitimate. I have an absolute legitimate chance of winning another world championship. And I think I placed in 7 out of 10 go-rounds that year, won the average, and I still have the steer at the house that I run in the 10th go-round.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But no, to the end of your question, no, I did not think that was going to be my last world championship. I was not planning on retiring. 2015 was the last year I made the finals. And from then on, it was, between the ERA, injuries, and just, everything with life, that 2015 was the last year.
Man, you mentioned quite a few injuries, and I have a list here, and you feel free to add to this, but broken nose, broken fingers, tore MCL in your left knee, broke your ribs, stretched your ACL and MCL on your right knee, along with meniscus tear, pectoral tendon rupture off your right arm, dislocated your left arm 3 times, tore your lat tendon off the bone. What did I miss? Torn hamstring in 2021.
Hamstring, bicep, rotator cuffs 2017. Bicep 2018, my knee was 2019, 20 was, obviously COVID year, didn't run a lot of steers, so I didn't get a chance to get hurt.
Yeah, cover year.
Yeah, and then 21 was my hamstring.
And so I saw a quote from your wife. It says, the times he's been hurt and needed surgery or had to take time off, I've seen more determination in him than ever before. Where does that come from?
Yeah, and I think that just goes back to the desire and the drive to win. To be a champion. I think you can't let injury get you down. You have to battle back. And sometimes, and I will always say this, my rodeoing was the selfish anybody could ever be, because it was all about Luke. It wasn't about Lindsay. It wasn't about the boys. And I've said this a lot, that you have to be selfish to have success. And the people that pay the price is your family. And, so that drive, determination, it didn't come without their love, care, support, and their sacrifice. And when they give so much, I think it's easy for a guy to keep taking. And I feel like that's what helped drive me to want to get more.
And that's so important. Yeah. You don't get 5 world championships without being obsessed.
Absolutely not. No. And like I said, the selfishness and I guess I say it's selfishness, not to sound bad, but they would give everything they could to have me succeed. So, it was an effort, and I would have never been able to do it without their support. I'm talking my wife, my kids, my parents, my brothers, just every family member, the support, guys that work for my folks, just they always were there to support and give and anything they could do to help me get better.
Tell me this, man. So a career at anything doesn't last forever. So at some point, the end is coming, and you see it in the military, you see it in sports. It's like this depressive state after.
Absolutely.
Did you go through any of that? Like, what was life after rodeo like for Luke Branquinho? I mean, you're at the top of, the top of the top. What was life like after rodeo for you?
Yeah, so for me, we really started hitting injuries 2016 to 2021. But in that time span, I thought I'm just going to get better. I'm going to go be successful. I'm going to get better. I'm going to be successful. When 2021 hit with the hamstring, I'm like, damn, maybe we're not going to be successful at this anymore. We're just going to keep getting hurt. And when we were driving out to the NFR, I told Lindsay, I said, I need to, write a statement that I'm done. And I couldn't do it. Like every time I go to type, I'd start crying because I've given 110% of my life to that. And, for her to be able to put that in my words, it was pretty awesome, because there's no way in hell I'd ever been able to do it. Getting it off your chest that, hey, it's time to hang it up was tough, but the 6-8 months, year, 2 years after that was really hard, more so the first year, because you got to find out, where's my place now? This is all I've ever known.
Yeah, that's your identity.
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately for me, those years I was hurt, I was able to get in broadcast. I was doing TV work. I was, doing some interviews. So I always felt like, even though I was done in the arena at those moments, I was still involved. It wasn't like, you're done, you're out, go get a job somewhere else. I still had work and in the arena, so I was still involved, as is today. Same thing, with doing my show, with doing color commentaries, play-by-plays, anything like that in the sport. I still feel like I'm involved, in which I think has helped a lot with the depression of being done as a competitor. And I don't know if it wasn't for that. I honestly don't know how it'd been. I know I gained a lot of weight because I didn't really have anything to look forward to as far as a competitive standpoint. And now, 2 years now, thanks to, my wife and pushing me to try to be better just outside of the arena. We did a reset. I call it a cleanse from Page Champion, but it wasn't. It was a reset. First of the year, they talked about, let's set goals, let's reset and kind of start the new year off. And it was simple little deals like drinking lemon water in the morning, eating certain ways and eating better. Well, I carried that on for a year and lost a lot of weight, started lifting weights. I got on a program with Kate Coward. She has an app, and she builds me a program every day, that I lift, and I just go down through it on my phone and do those workouts every day. And it's really helped me transform into a healthy person. And that's my competitiveness. So I took that as my steer wrestling being competitive to now I'm driving myself to be better healthy in the gym.
Right. Do you work out by yourself, or you have a workout partner that you go in there with?
Just usually by myself. When guys come in the winter to stay with us, they'll come work out with me. Peyton McIntyre was down this last winter, and it was good going to the gym with him, because he kind of gets just draining from time to time just going in there by yourself when you have somebody like, hey, this is what I'm doing. He's like, this is what I'm doing. Then let's do something together at the end. So it kind of helps build up to something there at the end, and it's been fun. But yeah, usually it's just I'm doing the workouts that Kate sends in my phone.
What's your advice for those people that I hesitate to say that you're fortunate that you got to stay in and around the sport that you love and that you competed at for so long. But what's your advice to somebody? Because I went through the same thing when I got done playing ball. I was lost, and I was in pharmaceutical sales, and you sit in these meetings and they're talking about a team atmosphere, being competitive, and I'm like, you motherfucker,
don't know.
Yeah, you don't. I'm not buying it, you know. And so it's not the same. And anybody that played sports and went into some corporate environment knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But what would your advice be to somebody who's ending their one chapter's closing on their career, and whether it be rodeo or anything, any sport, what's your advice to those folks?
You know, I had John Grown. He's a dear friend. He is a rodeo contractor, and we were talking about Lane Frost. He was really good friends with Lane Frost, and you know, he's like, "Hey, my book's written. I just got to follow it." You know, he said this was written way before I was ever had an idea what I was doing, and I do feel like that at times. You know, that book's written. You just got to go find it and read the pages yourself and follow that path, that journey that's laid out there for you. Now, I'm not saying you can't venture off and kind of rewrite some chapters, but I think everybody's path, you know, is written, and how you go about it and how you follow it and how you do it is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let the emotions of poor me get in the way of any type of success that's in front of you.
Yeah, I agree. Some days I agree with that, and then there's those days where you question. It's like,
Right.
man, how do you trust it? You know, like how do you? And I feel like it's like this inner peace. When you have that inner peace and like you just trust that everything is good, life is good. But
Yeah.
then I don't know. I feel like there's just like anybody that's ambitious, I feel like will have that like, oh, I need to be doing more. I'm not doing enough.
So funny you mentioned that, not doing enough, and I'm gonna go off on a little tangent about my, you know, life after rodeos and all these little adventures that I'm in. So, you know, obviously I have the Luke Branquinho show. It's been great partner with Bob Sullivan, Bandit Productions. It's been fun. Joe Lavero got us hooked up a couple years ago, and it's been awesome. I'm working with the Boot Builder, a boot company, custom made boots. Ivan Zweig was a baseball player, and he's like, man, I love the Western industry. I want to build some custom badass boots. And that's what I got pulled into that. Payment Cowboys, it's a credit card processing service. Casey Field and started this. It's not new. He started with a guy that owns PlatPay, Jed Morley. So we're a vertical of a company that's been around for 25 years, focused on Western industry, people in the Western industry. One, we could save them money and we give back to charity. So Casey pulled me in. We got some great companies that I brought on board: American Hats, Prefert, Husky, Trailer Parts and Supplies down in Houston. I mean, these are big companies that trust us to help save them money, and then we give back to charity. I got other things. I got and I can't really say, but we have another thing that it's all about courage. I'm going to leave it there, but this is going to be big. I feel like this one's going to be really huge. So, you know, I got my hands in a lot of things to that point. Is this enough? What do I got to keep doing? What do I need to do to get better, to get ahead? Because anybody, and I want to say this too, anybody that rodeos for a living, please be smart with your money. Financial plan, because I wasn't. So that's why I feel like I'm really stressing out, trying to make sure I'm could able to put my kids through college if they don't get a scholarship, take care of my wife, you know, and support my family. So anybody that's rodeoed or starting to, make sure you're financially sound when you're done. That way you have something to fall back on. But again, going back to, is this enough? Do I need to keep doing more? And I keep finding myself in little things here and there. And I've had a lot of success with them. So yeah, I think it's awesome. But yeah, always keep yourself doing something, because I think it keeps your mind from worrying.
With all of those things, all of those plates that you just have to keep spinning, how do you prioritize?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, fortunately, like the Payment Cowboys deal, it's just people, you know, making an introduction. So all I do is I called Keith Monday at American Hats, or I called Eddie and said, hey guys, how do we set this up where my team could talk to your financial team and see if we can make this work? And it's pretty easy to do those. You know, same deal with Husky, and we're working with a lot of people that we're building programs for that's going to save them money. So that's really an introduction deal. Get on a few calls and do that. The boot deal, again, very easy. you guys want a custom pair of boots? Here's my guy's number. He'll get you set up. Send us your boots. We'll get them measured. So that stuff's, now the show is a little more time consuming. What we do is kind of try to batch produce it. So we'll do, 4 episodes in a day. That way we're a month ahead and try to do that. But
For the podcast.
so we're on the Cowboy channel now too. And we're on, I think, 27 or 30 stations throughout the United States. So we're actually televised as well.
Wait a minute. You do a number of different things, broadcasting, podcasts. So specifically, you're saying the Luke Branquinho show is on the Cowboy channel?
On the Cowboy channel.
I gotcha.
Yep. And it's on markets all across the United States.
Right on.
Yeah.
So you'll batch record those 4 in a day.
Yep.
How do you decide who you have on?
A lot of times they say, hey, let's record next week, and I'll just go through a list and call people. And for the most part, everybody's willing to do it. But so we do it remotely. Firebridge is the network we use, and they can call in from an iPhone or a laptop or anywhere. And I mean, the technology is pretty amazing, and we get a pretty good show, and producers do a great job.
I saw you did some media training at some point. What was it? I'm curious to know. I nerd out on stuff like this. What did you learn from that maybe surprised you, or that you didn't know before you went in?
It's been so long ago, honestly. I don't know if I can remember what I learned, because it's just all kind of somewhat natural now. But in 2004, the U.S. Army started sponsoring rodeo, and they picked up a handful of cowboys, myself being one of them. But when we signed the contract, we had to go back east to media training. They wanted us to know how to speak well in front of a camera with somebody and shoving a microphone in your face. So, I think some of the main things, eye contact, don't say, I run into that a lot. Guys going, which rightfully so. When a camera's in your face, a microphone in your face, the nerves kind of get to you. So, there was a lot of things. Don't get caught up on catchwords, things like that. That'd probably be something I remember the most. And I find myself saying obviously a lot. And I'll catch myself like, why the hell did I just say obviously again? I just said it 42 times 5 minutes ago. But yeah, little things like that are things that I kind of remember from the media training.
What about the Cowboy channel? Do they send y'all through any kind of boot camp or anything, or is it like go do you? And
yeah, as far as I know, I mean, I'm an independent contractor, so they, maybe with their employees, they'll have them do something like that. But for me, it's just, hey, can you come do this gig? And here we go.
Yeah, I started doing my own edits for the audio part, I don't know, a couple years ago, and I find it fascinating. It's weird. Like, you can see the speech patterns on like the audio grid,
Uh-huh.
and like you can see the and then somebody's gonna say, they're gonna start a sentence, and then you're gonna change a direction, and they do that over and over again. So
I've never even looked at one of those. I'm glad I have a producer.
yeah. But I learned a lot about myself too,
Right.
because like you said, you say obviously, or that was like your word that you go to. I do the same thing. People never know about it because I edit it out. But,
Right.
but it's good to like listen to it. As painful as that is to listen
Right.
to your own voice, to like try to learn from it.
That's what everybody asks. So do you watch your own shows? And I say, absolutely not. And if I have to watch something on TV, I'll mute the rodeo where I'm talking at. Yeah, it is painful for whatever reason to listen to my own voice.
Yeah, I think it's universal for whatever reason. This is a question I think everybody's misunderstood in some way. So I want to know, like, how is Luke Branquinho misunderstood?
I don't know. Am I misunderstood? I'm sure I am. That'd be a question for my wife. I don't know. Maybe it's the carpenter genes. I'm not sure.
What about when you were rodeoing?
I don't honestly, if they misunderstood me, I never paid enough attention or cared enough to even worry about it. So I don't know.
For me, I thought about this. This is my first time asking that on the show, but I heard it on another podcast, and I found it fascinating. And
Now
for
your
me,
wheels
it's like,
turning. Yeah, go.
I'm an introvert, and so I feel like I could be misunderstood to be like, oh, he's an asshole. But really, I would just want to be like in a corner, like in a coffee shop, reading a book by myself.
Yeah.
Like, you put this one-on-one thing, I love it. But you put 3, 4, 5 people in a room, and I'm gonna like just sit in. I'm gonna clam up and be quiet.
Really?
I'm not gonna say
I
anything.
can't see that.
So I can see that being like, oh, what an asshole, But
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess, I don't know. I've never thought about if I've been misunderstood.
maybe yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, right. Or like I said, I just dumb enough I don't care, because I am.
Tell me this, when did the shake start?
Oh, shit.
And I'm sure I'm not the first person to ask this, but
Yeah, so again, back to 2000, I think it was 2004, we were in Omaha, and the producer of the rodeo wanted to get the crowd more involved. And so we were at a meeting. He's like, "Hey, Luke, we need you to do something in the steer wrestling, get the crowd more involved, and do something like the chicken dance that Rooster Reynolds used to do." And I don't know if you're familiar with Rooster Reynolds. He's from Montana, but he'd throw a steer fast, and he'd do, they called it the chicken dance. He'd jump up and do a little dance. And I was like, I'm absolutely not doing that. But the announcers kept hounding me like over and over and over. And finally I thought, if I get up and shake my ass, they'll never ask me to do it again. And I was wrong. It took off from there, and it was so embarrassing, and then towards the end of my career, yeah, I guess when they asked me to do it, it's because I was winning something. But then towards the end of my career, I'd throw a steer like in 6th, and like, "Oh, do that." I'm like, I'm not even in the top 40, and you want me to do that? Absolutely not. But yeah, that's where that started back in 2004.
I think people came to expect it, like they would tune in
Yeah, and maybe
to
that's
see
where I
you throw a
was,
steer fast and see you.
yeah, maybe now that I think about it, maybe that's where I was misunderstood.
Oh, that's good stuff, man. So we've got the American Rodeo going now. You got the Kid Rock deal, which I saw you were the commissioner for. The first year, I'm assuming the second year
Yep.
as well. What's next, man? What's next for rodeo? It's like this cool to be a cowboy wave that we're riding now, thanks to Yellowstone, and I really think just the authenticity of the cowboy lifestyle is what people are drawn to.
Well, I think they see the purity, the sincerity in it, the way things used to be, type deal. I think they're seeing that, and they say, "Hey, rodeo's an outlet for that. Let's take the kids to the rodeo. Let's show them that." And I think it's awesome. You mentioned Kid Rock Rodeo with the red, yellow, green light drag race style start was absolutely phenomenal. It was great the first year. It was really great the second year. And to have Kid Rock's involvement is special. A guy that we don't have the same fans, but if we could draw the fans together and just make it even that much bigger, and I think that's the goal we're looking for. Sean Gleason, the PBR, had the vision and put it together and matched the two up, and it's been phenomenal. Obviously the American, with what it's done the last several years of putting money in the Cowboys' pockets, and rodeo's just getting bigger and better. You see rodeos across the U.S. and Canada, they're adding more money. It takes more to make the national finals now than it ever has. So yeah, money's going up, attendance is going up. I think just the wave of the Western culture is getting bigger and bigger, and I think we just need to keep riding it. And everybody says, well, a wave crashes into the shore at some point. I would love to never see this wave crash. I think it'd be just awesome to keep it going, even if it just climbs and gets a little bit bigger every year, as long as we're getting bigger and we're getting better.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see it building. You got the right people doing the right things. Is there another Kid Rock out there? Like, is there another big rodeo that's on the horizon that we don't know about yet?
Not that I'm aware of. I know we're planning on Kid Rocking it for next year too. So 2020, what are we in, 2026? You have the Hondo, the San Diego Rodeo, and these pop-up events. San Diego and the one in Phoenix is awesome. So you see these big events coming up. Your Western country music festivals, I think, is huge.
Oh yeah, you just got back from Nashville.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. The Music City Rodeo.
That was a Teton Ridge thing, or
no? That was a PRCA. Yeah,
okay.
We just did the Teton Ridge Cowboy Channel, did the pre-show. I had Patrick Humes on. He was the co-founder of the rodeo. Yeah, I had him on my show last week, and talk about an outstanding event. When we showed up there, my wife and I got in on Thursday. That was the first performance, and everybody in Nashville that we stopped and talked to knew the rodeo was in town.
Oh, that's
and they were
awesome.
excited to be there. And much like Houston, and they have a great event. They have a rodeo and a concert. When the rodeo starts, the stadium's maybe not even a quarter full, and as the rodeo continues, it starts filling up because people are coming to the concert. Nashville, those people were there for the rodeo and stayed for the concert, which was awesome. And I mean, you had Reba McEntire, Jelly Roll, and Tim McGraw playing. So, I mean, you had great artists that were singing, but they were there for the rodeo. Downtown Broadway was packed with people, cowboy hats everywhere. Just an all-around great time, and they did an awesome job putting that event on. Signed another 2-year deal to have it in Bridgestone, and excited for the next for the future of that rodeo.
That's cool. Who set that up?
So Patrick Humes was the original founder, and then he partnered with Tim McGraw's group. They got it up and going.
I saw Tim McGraw in the booth with you guys. How was he?
He was awesome. Just like you'd imagine him being, no different than he is on TV as he is in person. That's just his personality, and loves sitting there and talking to him. And, the vision of Western sports and rodeo combined with country music.
He's from a little town not too far from where I grew up in Monroe, Louisiana. I believe he's from Rayville. And he's a hell of an actor, man. Two country music singers I think are phenomenal actors. Dwight Yoakam, Tim McGraw.
Dwight Yoakam and Sling Blade?
Oh my God! By far one of my favorite characters ever. Doyle Hargroves or Hargraves?
Yeah,
hysterical. That's one of the best comedies ever. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's considered a comedy. I call it a comedy.
Yeah.
It's
But he was great. He was a great actor.
dude. He nailed it.
And Tim McGraw was 1883.
Yeah.
And he was in other shows. He was in the one with the football player. Sandra Bullock was his wife.
Friday Night Lights.
Was he in Friday Night Lights?
He was in Friday Night Lights. Yeah.
But what was the one where Orr played for Baltimore? Tui, not Tui.
Blindsided.
Blindside, The Blind Side.
I didn't see him in that. I guess I haven't seen the movie.
He was the husband.
Oh right.
Yeah, he was the husband.
Yeah, he's a good actor, man.
Yeah.
Good actor. I was trying to think. Staying on that topic, I saw Tilden Hooper up there.
Mhm.
I had Tilden on the show I don't know, a few years ago, and I don't know him that well, but he's probably one of my favorite people in rodeo. Just my favorite people, really. He just seems like a genuine human being.
100%, and he is awesome, in front of the camera.
Is he?
He's very good. Yeah, he speaks well. He talks well. His timing's really good for no more than he's done.
He was great to interview and have on the show.
But and we go back to media training. I think a lot of these athletes are getting better. Casey Field's been great. Stetson Wright was great when we had him on last year. Richie Champion's been good. These guys are starting to speak better in front of the camera because they have to. We have way more cameras at the rodeos, more interviews, and I think that's great for our industry.
Yeah. And social media being what it is.
Yeah.
There's a cell phone somewhere everywhere
100%.
that's getting stuck in their face. Tell me this, man, going back to your career, do you have like I can ask this a number of different ways, but I like to say like your favorite failure, meaning like something that happened that you may not have understood at the moment, but looking back, it's like, oh, shit, I had to go through that to learn this lesson.
Yeah, I think that goes way back to 2000, my rookie year. I ended up 16th in the world, one spot out of making the national finals, and by $1,300. And everybody goes, well, what was the reasoning for that? And I said, I could name 50 steers I ran that was the reasoning for not making the national finals that year. And, and they always want to talk about, what about the last one? What about the last one? I was like, what about the first one? There's so many from the first to last in between that I could have done something different. But the guys I rodeoed with, I learned a lot on how to rodeo right and how to rodeo wrong. And I took a lot of that with me when, after my rookie year, on this is what I need to focus on and this is what I need to steer away from. And, after the Cow Palace, because it was the last rodeo of the season that year in San Francisco, I drove to San Luis Obispo. My buddy was going to school. Jesse Segura was my college roommate at West Hills. Well, he ended up transferring to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I went to rodeo. And I went and stayed at his house for about 4 days. And when I'm telling you, I was drunk for 4 straight days, just wondering what the hell, poor me. He got me up and slapped me, and I went home and started practicing, getting ready for 2001. Sounds so long ago to say 2001, but yeah, that was the first year I made the finals. I learned a lot what to do and a lot what not to do. Took the good stuff with me.
Mm-hmm. If you could give that version of yourself any advice, knowing what you know now, with the knowledge that you have now, what advice do you give that version of yourself?
That's a great question. I don't really know because, everybody said, well, don't you wish you were in this good a shape when you were rodeo? And I said, yeah, I'm 50 pounds lighter. I may not have won as much. Maybe I was going to be healthier. Maybe I wouldn't have got it hurt as much. I honestly can't answer that. The only thing I would give myself, and we talked about earlier, is make sure you set yourself up for retirement. Take that money. I don't care if it's $1,000, $10,000. If you hit a big win, stick it in a savings account. Take care of your finances way better than you did if I had to go back and tell myself anything.
I was curious to know, man. Anytime I watch rodeo, I see bulldoggers with the reins in their right hand. Why is that?
Well, if they're in your left hand, your right hand has to get across the top of the back, so you got to hang on to the saddle horn. There's only one or two guys in the history of rodeo, and John W. Jones won. He would ride better with his reins in his left hand. Then he would drop the reins, transfer, switch hands in the middle of a run. I never was able to do that, and not very many people were that handy. So, yeah, you ride with your reins because you drop them and then drop your hand, and you're hanging on the saddle horn with your left.
It's so simple. No, it's so stupid to ask it now. But yeah.
No stupid questions.
Yeah. I hold the reins in my left hand, and I'm like, oh, the majority of people do, I think.
Yep. Well, you've been roping. Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I wonder why they do that. Who knew?
That way you didn't land on your ear as soon as you bend your knee. You got something to hang on to.
Again, going back to your career, when did you buy into the belief that you were good enough to rodeo as a profession full time?
I think my rookie year, I competed well, showed out well, again, missing the finals by one spot. I felt like, hey, I have a opportunity here. And one thing a good friend of mine, Rob Juker, told me, before I even got my permit or my rookie card, he said, take a note, write a note down, put it in the sweatband of your hat. So every time you take your hat off, you could read, set some goals. And rookie of the year is what I wrote down in there. Told myself to score good and bulldog good, and that's what I stuck in my hat. And I felt like just having that confidence from my rookie year, even though missing the NFR by making lots of mistakes, made me realize, hey, I have a chance. I can compete with these guys.
Do you have a favorite horse that you competed on?
Oh, man.
Throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. I feel bad even naming one because I'd have to name them all. I'd say at the NFR, Gunner, Jesse Peterson owned him. He was phenomenal. I won the majority of my go-round buckles on Gunner, but, I rode greats there. I rode Willie. I rode Rusty. I rode Les Shepherdson's horse Dylan when Gunner went down. The first year horse I rode there, Junior, he was phenomenal there.
And I don't know.
Jackpot was another great horse.
I don't know the steer wrestling horses well, but were all these older horses at the NFR that you're riding?
Yep. That's something I was always adamant about in my career. I'm going to ride the very best one anywhere I can. I could have a horse saddled, ready to go, and if there's a horse better there, I'm going to go ask to get on that horse. If they tell me no, I'll go to the next one. And maybe it's my horse, maybe it's not. I always want to give myself the opportunity to ride the very best horse, to give myself the very best chance to win. And that even came down to the NFR. I rodeoed on horses I had a lot of confidence on all year long, but when we get to national finals, they have to be special. And I would make sure I was riding the most special horse there I could find.
Oh, that's so interesting. So I didn't know that was I know you can mount out, and I see that in steer wrestling more so than any other discipline that multiple people may ride the same horse, right?
Yep.
How important is horsemanship when it comes to steer wrestling?
You don't have to be a very good horseman at all. You just need to be able to sit in the box and on and let the horse do the work.
So, okay. So
I say that lightly. I mean, you have to have some sort of idea what the horse is doing underneath you. But those old horses, old campaigners, you could put 4 or 5 different guys on their back, and no more than 4 usually, and they all ride different. Those horses were so good it didn't matter.
That's what I was about to ask. What is it about those horses that make a good steer wrestling horse?
Just they're so honest, and it doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter who you put on their back. They're going to give you the same go every time. Just that consistency.
Man, that's so cool. So your kids are growing up now. They're doing it.
Yep. Cade, he just turned 17. We just got done at the Texas High School State Finals. He didn't have any luck. Made the short round, but just clipped the barrier. Jameson, he likes rodeo. He tie down ropes. He'll probably tie down rope at the region rodeos this year. And then Bear, he's 9, and he thinks he's going to be better than everybody at everything, whether it's baseball or rodeo or football. And he's the youngest, like I was. So I can't expect anything different from him.
And do they listen to Dad when it comes to coaching bullhogging?
Oh, I want to say yes and no. I mean, I think I've tried to pick my battles wisely. For Cade steer wrestling, we get to practice with Justin Schaefer a lot, and Justin is the guy I rodeoed with the last year I went, and he is so smart, so knowledgeable about steer wrestling. Justin could tell Cade the same exact thing I tell him, maybe a little different, and Cade's like, oh, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, no worries. If I told him that, it's sometimes, and he's getting way more receptive now the older he gets. But, we kind of choose those battles and let Justin, coach him up. And most of the time, Justin, and even if it's not the same thing I'm saying, he'll listen to Justin, which I think is awesome. Baseball-wise, I know enough about baseball because I played enough. They will listen to me, a little bit on that. But I try to put them in the right hands. I got a friend that we met a few years ago, Larry Pimpek. He very, very knowledgeable. He played college ball, played pro ball. He, hey, you need something, call us. We send videos. He sends videos back. So I try to give him the best opportunity with other voices out there, if that makes sense. Guys that have had success.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my dad did the same thing. Like, he would always find the people that knew the things he didn't know, and here, go train my kid.
Exactly.
For whatever reason, kids don't want to listen to their parents. I don't know what the deal is with that. But, man, I'm curious to know from like a podcasting standpoint or even broadcast, like what's something that you've learned through doing it that you didn't know before?
Rodeoing, a lot of the people that I talked to on the show, I rodeoed with them, but I didn't know their stories. You don't really know their stories, and we don't get into a lot of detail and depth, but just hearing those stories, it's what I've learned is how people will open up and talk about it, which I think is awesome because that's what the fans want to hear. They want to hear real life things and not just, okay, you're in the arena, the announcer talks about it. They want to hear real life experiences, real life things that they wouldn't know. And I feel like for me being an athlete, I didn't realize that people wanted to hear that. I thought they just wanted to see you compete, go fast, and have success. They didn't want to know, the outside the arena stuff. So I think that's something I've learned a lot since I've done the show.
Yeah, I'm sure they do want to see all of that, but they buy into the story, character, and they want to know more about it. And I agree with you. I've talked about it on the show before. You have a guest on a podcast, and I think that's what I like about it. Because if you pass someone on the street or even at a rodeo, it's going to be a, hey, how you doing? They have shit they're doing. You have stuff you're doing. There's a cell phone in each of your hands, most likely, and there's text. But if you show up for a podcast or any guest that comes in, it's like this mutual agreement. We're going to sit here for this amount of time and we're going to talk. And I think that's what I like most about doing this thing.
100%.
But
some cool stories out there. I mean, some really cool stories.
Do you listen to podcasts?
So Lindsay's got us listening to, I've listened to Rogan. We've listened to other things, but as far as me sitting down, I'm usually too damn busy to sit down. I did listen to All My Wife's Companion Pass podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with that, or you should check. Companion Pass. She hasn't done it the last year and a half just because time consuming and everything. But yeah, do you want to talk about get into detail with wives, girlfriends, spouses of rodeo athletes? It's pretty badass. Companion Pass.
And it's on YouTube?
It's on it's on Spotify.
Spotify, like Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcast, yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's really cool because knowing a lot of these wives, husbands, hearing their stories because they're at home with the kids, they're at home taking care of the ranch, they're at home taking care of everything. There's some pretty cool stories. And the reason it's called Companion Pass because every rodeo cowboy that buys their card gets a card that's a companion pass to get their spouse or significant other into the rodeo. So
that's cool, man. I think we can roll into some rapid fires. I was trying to think if there was anything I left out, and there is probably.
Well, we can do it again too if you want.
Yeah, we'll do another one. I'm sure this won't be our last time to cross paths, but it's usually when I'm driving home, I'm like, son of a bitch, I wish I would have.
I hear you.
So rapid fire round, you feel free to answer these as fast or as slow as you want. I'm just going to ask them in a rapid manner. And the very first question always is, what is your favorite Western movie?
Oh, Blazing Saddles.
Very quick answer.
How many people say Lonesome Dove? I'm sorry.
Probably 80%.
Oh, I guarantee you. Yeah. Blazing Saddles all the way, or the Cowboy Way, either one.
If you could go to any time period for 1 week, when and where do you go?
Wow, that's a great question. Man, I don't know. That's tough. I would like to, honestly, being a California cowboy, I'd like to go back to the early 1900s and see what the Bay Area looked like, because they said that was some of the most beautiful cattle country in the entire world.
Right on.
1920 or early 1900s.
Yeah, I can see that. Speaking of, you just moved to Hico.
Yeah, we moved about 3 years ago. Yeah.
3 years ago. Why Hico out of all places?
You know, we came out and looked at 3 or 4 different times for a few days each time, and we started all the way up at Bowie and ended up down as far south as Hico, and it's just kind of what it picked us.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to sound it sounded negative, but I like that whole area.
Yeah.
We live in Granbury, not too far from there. And
Right.
there's a restaurant in Hico, Omaline's.
Omalines, yeah.
Dude,
Unbelievable.
holy
Yeah.
shit!
The burger, the bowls, I mean, just everything about Omalines is
The
amazing.
atmosphere, environment,
Atmosphere,
everything about it. I've only been one time, but it came.
The owners are badass.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've got a handful of my favorites, and it's dang sure.
The other one, Midland Hotel, the Chop House at the Midland Hotel is really good too.
Really, I'll have to
Yeah,
check
they
that out.
have a chicken fried tenderloin, chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes. It's really good.
Yeah, I'd say that, like, from Hico to Weatherford. You mentioned Bowie, but I'll stop it at Weatherford. Like, that's like a performance horse. It's like this unicorn of a
Yeah.
place. If you're in performance horse anything, that is the mecca.
Yeah, you got Weatherford Performance Horse Rodeo Cowboys, and you got Stephenville, the cowboy capital of the world, and you hit down to south, Hico, and like you said, that little area right there,
pocket.
it's flooded with anything Western you want.
What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Oh man, I'd say Scooby Doo. No, I'm sorry, I take that back. It's not Scooby Doo. It's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was Michelangelo.
Forget about that one, man. I asked that question and people mention them, and
Yeah.
Smurfs was one
Smurfs
that brought
was
up
good.
not long ago that I
Yeah.
forgot about.
Definitely Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that's good. What was your most embarrassing moment in the arena?
Oh, one time at Omak, Washington, I caught a steer right out front to win something, and I don't know how his horn got in my pants, behind my buckle, behind my underwear, and broke out the zipper of my pants. Fortunately, it was going outward and not inward, but it took me a good minute and a half to get shook loose from that steer. That was pretty embarrassing. And then there was another time at Redding, California. I missed a steer, but I got turned around backwards in my saddle, so I'm hanging on the saddle horn. I'm looking at the chute, standing straight up my stirrup, and I know I got to cut loose. And when I do, I just lawn dart into the arena. But probably the steer with his horn in my pants was the...
Wait, you spun around on the saddle?
Yeah, so when I got down, we talk about hanging onto the saddle horn with your left hand. My left leg swung over, so now I'm standing in my right stirrup, looking at the chute, both legs on the same side. No, nothing I could do. Yeah, it was bad.
Oh man. Well, okay, same question, but now you've got a microphone in front of you. Like, what's the most embarrassing moment when you've been broadcasting?
I misgendered a lady's child one time, and that's all I'm going to say about that. She knows who I'm talking about.
It was a boy you thought
It was live.
girl,
It was live.
or a girl you thought
It was live. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
That's one thing, dude. I love that this is edited and we're gonna post this weeks from now. But the live thing, does that make you nervous?
Actually, now I love it. I'd way rather do live.
Really?
Yep, because I feel like it's done, it's out there, and you don't even have to worry about it. To me, I don't prepare. I don't prep. Even my show, I might look over a bio and then we just bullshit. And live to me is like, you just call it what you see, and that's it. It's out there. Where when it's recorded, you could almost, it's almost like you have a safety net, and I don't like a safety net.
Yeah. I get that. A couple more here for you. What is something that scares you?
Spiders. I hate spiders.
Spiders.
Yeah. Heights. I don't like heights either.
What about airplanes? Do they bother you?
No, I don't mind airplanes.
But, like,
would definitely
hot
not do a hot air balloon.
I agree with that.
So WCRA, we were in Chicago, and we went up to that tower where it has the glass platform where you could walk out and look down, like it hangs out over the street. My knees were shaking, and I was 20 feet, or I was up against the wall there. Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Elevator rides, if there's a glass, I look
the
at
other way.
I look at the door.
yet you will jump off a horse going 35 miles an
It's
hour.
not that high.
And yeah.
Not that high at all.
Oh, man. Alrighty, my friend, last question. If you could put a message on a billboard, metaphorically speaking, to get it out to millions of people, what would your message say?
Man, just I'd have to say enjoy every day, live, laugh, and love. And I even need to do it more.
Awesome, dude. Luke Branquinho, time is our most valuable asset, so I appreciate you sharing it with me and the listeners.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.